Okay.
Business Insider came with me to the Central Valley of California and made this little video about bird flu and why eggs cost so much. But it also
Mm.
includes a lot of stuff about me and my documentation of bird flu. So we'll just watch here.
which really is unprecedented.
And politicians blaming each other isn't solving the problem.
The Biden administration and the Department of Agriculture directed the mass killing of more than 100 million chickens.
So, President Trump, what's your plan to stop the spread of bird flu?
If the outbreak isn't contained soon, egg prices.
Yeah, I like the little free advertisement they're doing for Waffle House. I wonder how much they paid for that. Do you think they're in cahoots or what?
There's lots of free advertisement for certain companies in
Mm.
this, which, see if you notice, and not free advertisement for other companies, which
Mm.
are
Mm.
do some advertising. So yeah, we'll watch
The
that.
record high reached in February 2025 of
A lot of Lucerne free advertising. I'll just say that.
$6 a
Lucerne.
dozen, double the price from 1 year earlier. Of course, that's just an average. You've probably seen shelves filled with $8 or even $10 cartons.
Okay, here we
Oh,
go.
here we go. This is
What is
footage you took
this?
right here, isn't it?
The camera person who was with me, the filmmaker Austin Meyer, came with me to the Central Valley, and
Mm.
we went by Central Valley Eggs, and this was the dairy right across the street from Central Valley Eggs, the big poultry facility that you went by, where
Mhm.
we photographed workers cleaning up the depopulation without wearing any masks.
Yeah.
And this is the dairy across the street, and we literally saw, you can see this cow showing her white belly here. That
Mhm.
cow is dead.
Oh my gosh.
This cow, it looks like they're giving some sort of medication or fluids to this cow.
Mm.
And yeah, we just sat there, and I'm so glad they got this footage. He got a ton of footage I didn't realize he captured, and we'll watch
Oh
that.
wow.
But I'm so grateful for Business Insider for publishing this, and you'll see a lot of it. And they have 10 million subscribers on, their
Yeah,
social media
hopefully help to get
platforms.
the word out. I love it.
This is really good.
And the bird flu is wreaking havoc on more than
And see, this is Central Valley Eggs, and some of
Mhm.
they didn't
I
mention,
recognize it.
unfortunately, that the workers were not wearing masks.
just chicken.
Yay, Austin's in the chat.
Mm. Austin's in the chat. There he is, Austin Meyer.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love this, like, so dramatic. Put your camera down. Like,
Yeah. When I watched this, I thought it was so funny because it was like, put your camera down.
I know
Yeah.
my goal usually with this sort of stuff is to be just very boring, like Jane Goodall. We're just doing scientific work here. We're not doing anything. It's not like the classic, like, animal rights people, like, stay in your teams, like, very
Yeah.
trying to be like the CIA or some sort of like operative. Like,
Uh-huh.
I'm just like, I'm not sensationalizing anything here.
No,
This is just,
but you are a very I think that I think you've taken your security culture training seriously because when I was in the Central Valley, we switched to disappear in 4 days or whatever. Like, and when I saw that, oh, okay, we're disappearing in 4 days. And
no,
that's
that's
good.
just, if you do something stupid, I don't want anybody to think that we're talking like,
I'm always doing something stupid. That's just me. No, I think it's perfect. That I I take security culture pretty seriously, so I don't mind. But
yeah.
I totally got. This is something that I'm used to. From put your camera down. Shh, look over. Don't say anything while they're over. Shh. Yeah, it's nice.
Well, the thing is here, like, I'm not that worried about people seeing me do this because this is not illegal. This
Right.
is
Nothing
completely on the
illegal
up
about
and
this.
up.
Yeah.
The only reason I said, like, put your cameras down is because I wanted to stay there longer. And if they saw us there with and I was in a big Dodge Ram pickup truck
Hmm.
for the purpose
Did they see
of
you?
just giving, like, we are supposed to be their vibes. Like, we are
Hmm.
supervisors. We're just observing. we're workers in the area, like whatever, we belong there. But you bring out the cameras and suddenly you look like you don't belong. Um,
Yeah.
it, so that's I just wanted to be able to stay there longer. So that's and I saw somebody down the road, so I was like, just put your camera down, like just so we can. That's
This
all.
is why
But it
I'm
wasn't
bringing
like I'm worried about them seeing me photograph them, but there's also just an aspect of wanting to stay there longer and not get kicked out.
I'm gonna bring my high vis vest to New York because it also if when you have the high vis vest, everyone's just like, oh yeah, he belongs here.
Yeah, I brought
Clipboard, high vis vest, you can go anywhere.
construction hat. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Construction hat's great. Yeah.
but I love like the sign with Central Valley Eggs. That's the only time you'll see sort of a business implicated and it shown in a negative light here.
No
So why
trespassar.
is this bird flu outbreak so bad? And how long can we expect eggs to be this expensive? The
Oh, look at those
H5N1
birds.
avian flu usually starts in wild migratory birds. If other birds come into contact with infected birds or contaminated
This graphic is
surfaces,
great, I
they
think.
catch it too. The virus then copies itself rapidly, attacking multiple organs. And at large poultry farms, chickens are kept in such close proximity that the virus can spread.
Look at this. I love you get the real
Yeah,
imagery of how these chickens are raised. This is perfect.
that's closer to what Central Valley looks like. Although Central Valley has caged and non-caged birds. They do both. Most places do. They
Do
do
they?
both, right?
I don't know.
They have
Like I'm not all I know of Central Valley is I've seen on their website they're one of the largest cage-free egg facilities in the country.
I'm almost positive, and I'm 99% sure that they do all of them. They do cage-free organic, cage-free. They do all of the different ones because they've diversified, right?
Mhm.
Most of the big ones, they do every type. I mean, how would you feel if you were one of the chickens where you're the caged one, and then there's the cage-free one, and then there's the cage-free organic one? Are they treated differently in each building? Um, I don't think they're treated that differently, but it looks differently
The
the way
clue
they're treated.
between them.
Yeah.
The flu is so severe in chickens that entire flocks can die within 48 hours of infection.
Mm.
Federal policy requires all the birds in a flock be killed if just one tests positive for avian flu. So far, farmers have had to kill more than 170 million birds.
In 2015, that number was in the 50 million range.
Culling hens will raise egg and chicken prices in the short term, but it stops the flu in its tracks. Then farmers can rebuild.
These guys
Does
with the
it
rakes.
yeah, like, oh, this is the kind of grueling aspect of cage-free eggs is
Yeah.
you have workers having to do this.
Yeah, he's
But
got
I
bird flu for sure.
well, I don't know. You're we don't want to assume things. We're
Not assuming.
non-sensationalizing.
Well, it's pretty sensational. He's got a
And
rake and he's okay.
obviously this isn't an avian influenza positive place. They're because they're actively, I don't know. This is just a regular facility. I don't know
That
how
has
they
not
got into this.
detected. They have not detected this. Maybe it's stock footage they got from, or maybe it's
Yeah.
footage they took from a different visit and something. I don't know. Business
Yeah.
Insider does. Maybe Austin could share light on it. Where did you get the extra footage?
Yeah, we want to
But
know.
yeah,
Um but I was on a call recently and they gave me the stats on the call and I thought I was having my note taker take notes, but my note taker didn't record it. But they gave some really interesting stats about the caged hens. The caged facilities have had many more avian influenza outbreaks or many more birds cold than
mm,
the cage-free facilities, and organic facilities even like lower numbers than that. So they're kind of make the argument that like that's one reason why we need to transition to cage-free organic facilities. That's
that's
the one way to
ludicrous. Though.
attack. And this is kind of like
Yeah.
Prop 2, Prop 12 sort of tactics of like just making
Would
it more
higher
expensive.
welfare would higher welfare chicken production lead to lower cases of bird flu is the question.
Yeah, it seems to be the case. It seems to be the case here, but We'll
I
see.
guess, like we know that viruses hate distance. They do. Like the more distance you have between you and other people, the lower the risk of you grabbing that virus from them, right? So I guess the same thing would be true for chickens, right? Theoretically.
Like social distancing a little bit
Yeah.
for the chickens. Yeah.
Yeah. So distance of social distancing
Yeah.
for chickens.
And I'm sure like if they're less stressed, they're less likely to be
Mm.
susceptible to these things. But how
I
much?
suppose, but how could you make it less stress and
I
still
know.
consume 50 million chicken
Yeah.
eggs a day? That's just
Yeah. It's just.
the average American's eating almost 300. It's like 255 eggs a year. In
That's
Mexico,
crazy,
they're eating 350 million, 350 a year per person. You
man.
can't
There's
consume
lots
that many eggs
and
and
get egg
be
production going.
Let's
high
see.
welfare.
Austin says the footage in this story of the chickens comes from wire services, Reuters, news organizations pay annual subscription
Oh,
to wire
right.
service to get access
Yeah.
to the library footage. Some of the
Yeah.
footage, and then some of the footage is our footage. So
Going
this
again.
Cool.
footage was.
During the outbreak 10 years ago,
I want to.
poultry producers did just that.
I gotta research more. How do I get my footage into the Reuters AP stuff? Like,
How do you get your footage into AP? That's a good
yeah,
question for
we gotta.
ChatGPT.
And it worked. So why isn't it working now? Well, for the first time ever, the avian flu has been found in.
And this cow, I shot this. This is a calf with no ear tag, just outside of J.G. Boswell's cotton mill.
Hmm.
No dairies around anywhere or any. Just so
Just a
it's
dead
just a
calf.
weird photo with, and so you see all the cotton around.
Yeah.
It's just.
The
Cows.
cotton mills over there.
Scientists.
Yeah, J.G. Boswell, he was like he owns basically Tulare Lake, like the 512,000 acres of what used to be Tulare Lake. And he is like one of the biggest private farmers in the country and is really responsible for draining Tulare Lake and pretty much decimating the Tachi people who used to survive off of Tulare Lake, which was the largest freshwater lake west of the Mississippi, or one of the.
He also handled Charlie's Angels, Boswell. Wasn't Boswell the guy who handled Charlie's Angels?
I don't know that. I don't know my Charlie's Angels lore.
That's okay. Who
Believe
cares?
infected cows can pass the
Like
virus to
Charlie's
healthy
Angels lore.
poultry flocks.
Boswell.
And the risk is higher
So
when
this
dairy
is,
farms and poultry farms.
you'll
Yeah,
see
there.
Central Valley Eggs,
Mhm.
Poso Creek Family Dairy right there.
Right next to each other.
Are
How
near each other, like they are here. That's made it a lot harder to contain the spread.
Because the more movement that you have of the virus,
I brought
and the more
Quran.
replication of the virus, the more chances the virus has to mutate and adapt to a new host.
A host like us.
Okay, so yeah, this is the cow that was getting fluids or some sort of medication next to the. This is right across from Central Valley
Because
Eggs.
cows and humans have a few things in common.
They've had very high levels of virus, like in their
Oh,
udders.
this part
And what
about
we
the
know is that
eyeballs.
the types of receptors that they have in their udders are receptors that are found both in human eyes, human
What
upper
the hell?
respiratory tract, and human lower respiratory tract.
That's
And
how you get
depending on how it
mammalian
mutates,
adapted
there's
influenza.
different concerns that come.
Look at this guy. We
They've
need to
got
get
it-
this guy on TV more. I'm just saying.
Yeah. He's got because he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both around how communicable it is.
He reminds me
between
of
people,
Peter
and then
Lorre.
how deadly it is, how likely it could.
Peter Lorre. I don't know.
You never seen Peter Lorre? He was in a movie called Casablanca. Have you ever seen Casablanca? Help me, Rick.
Oh,
Help me. Help me, Rick. Please
exactly.
take these papers, Rick. And it was the thing that caused the whole.
Cause
He's huge.
pneumonias and kill people.
He looks like Peter Lorre.
Out of 70 human cases reported
Help me,
so
Rick.
far in the United States, there has been one death, a resident of Louisiana. Almost 60%.
Look at that footage. Look at that. I hope people look at this and go, "Oh my God."
This is
Like,
where your milk's coming from.
seriously.
It is hideous. Look, it goes as far as the horizon. It goes. These buildings go all the way back. It really is horrible.
Yeah, Abrar is great. We follow each other on Twitter. And he does great stuff.
I did pre-interviews with multi-academics before
Of
choosing
these
Abrar
cases
as the
came
right
from
voice of the
exposure
story.
to cattle.
Yeah, he's good.
The Centers for
I remember this footage that I took. Oh, that was
Oh,
Harris
Harris
Ranch.
Ranch. I went to Harris
Yeah.
Ranch. Yeah, I've been to Harris Ranch. Horrific.
This though, I remember this cow. You look at her leg. Like she's
Yeah.
clearly
She's
got some
been
pain
Disease
in her hind
Control and
leg there. She's
Prevention
lifting
says
it
the
up.
current public health risk for humans is low. But Crystal Heath, a veterinarian, is skeptical of this messaging. We followed Crystal, who has been photographing
Crystal.
dairy and poultry farms in California to document and expose the
Okay, you see they're not
severity
wearing
of the
masks.
outbreak.
Did they come at you? Because when I was at Central Valley, they came up. Like the general manager came out. What you doing here? What you doing? How do I get you to stop taking pictures? I'm like, well, that's my right. I'm not on your land.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really like stick around too long, but there was a instance when I heard somebody yell, "Hey, they're recording us." And unfortunately that didn't get recorded. And drove back a few times trying to get them to say other stuff, but no.
Can't get them to exclaim more. Yeah.
Yeah,
Get
please make
the
it.
element of surprise. Yeah. Do it again.
Today we're driving by some of the dairies and poultry facilities that I've been by before. Last time I was there, I filmed aborted fetuses on the ground, cows with a lot of nasal discharge, and cows breathing rapidly. I don't know for sure.
This thing with the tongue. This is like, what's going on with this animal's tongue?
That's
He's
tongue
like,
rolling. That's a stereotypic behavior, usually from when they don't it can be from like weaning them too young. It can be from like just their lack of access to forage. They do that. There's no grass for them to graze on. They can eat their silage and stuff, but it's just not stimulating enough for them. So the Jersey cows especially have higher rates of that tongue rolling behavior, but it is a stereotypic behavior meant that they do to cope with stress.
it's like horses, how they bite their stalls and then they
Cribbing, yeah.
hyperventilate and get themselves high. Cribbing, is that what it's called?
That's what's called cribbing, yeah. Or wind
Cribbing.
sucking.
Wind sucking, yeah, and they get high by
Those are all
yeah.
signs of avian influenza.
Yeah. This is by Pittman Family Farms. That's my little truck there.
You guys had the drone follow you around, huh? Nice.
We can't see the implications of the outbreak in poultry flocks because they're hidden away. But with avian influenza in dairy cows, they're out
So we
in
should
the open.
describe what those people are doing, though. Like those people in those egg production places that Crystal's photographing, they're not picking eggs right now. They're retooling the entire place after they've already depopulated. Like there are no chickens in those places right now. And those people are cleaning up a mess of dead chickens. And at this point, all the dead chickens are gone, but they're redoing everything inside because they've got to wait and they're working in there. And a lot of them aren't wearing any protective gear. You could see they're wearing white stuff over. They're wearing overalls, but they're not wearing any masks, half of them.
Some are wearing masks, so clearly it's like, some think it's important, some don't. It's
easy to drive by any facility and see for yourself what's happening.
Mendonça.
And unfortunately, there's just not a lot of footage in the media showing sick cows.
The fact these cows have spray paint on them, like just insult to injury.
Miles, take exit 85 toward Page Avenue.
Just spray painting the cows, so disgusting.
So we're just gonna see. Sometimes I don't see any signs of illness until I actually photograph them. Oh, oops. Put your camera down.
You're like Kip and Cam getting you're like, this is like Cowspiracy where they're chasing us. The CIA is on our backs.
Yeah, I'm not gonna cheese it up.
No. Is that a drone? Who's watching us? like in Conspiracy when the drone's outside of his apartment and he's going,
See
"The
how many
Catholic Church is
birds
spying
there
on
are.
us."
Oh, look at that. That's a dead cow. I don't think they ever say that that's a dead cow, but that's a dead cow that cow's licking.
The cow's
So
licking
you
a
see the
dead
birds
cow. It's
eating the
so sad.
feed, drinking out of the water troughs, and pooping in the water troughs, so they could potentially spread this disease to the cows.
I mean, and okay, like for the record, like we know that there were reintroductions of bird flu to dairy herds 3 times. And it used to be like, we thought it was just like one introduction of bird flu into the cattle herd, and then the cows spread it that way. Um, so like it's a little controversial to say like the birds pooping and everything could spread it to the cow. And I get that. But also I should have mentioned the birds, you'll see they're picking up the cow stuff, and the
The birds
cows
are
could
getting it
give
from
it
the
to the
cows.
wild
Yeah,
birds.
right.
That's the
I
thing. The
mean,
cows can give it to the wild birds, and then the spread it to the poultry facilities, which we know has happened. We know that the cows have spread it to the poultry facilities.
well, also, every time I've seen the birds, I've seen the cows eating, they've got their faces in the feed, in these mountains of feed, and the birds are littering it. I mean, you say
Mhm.
like the birds are eating the feed,
Yeah,
sure, but
and
they're
pooping.
swarming on the feed.
Yeah,
They are
yeah.
in the feed.
Dying in the feed, and the
They're,
cows
yeah,
eat
the
the
birds
dead
are
birds, and
literally, I
yeah,
mean, actually happening. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
And it's like,
and there's so much
how
standing water. There's so much standing water. These mud fields. There's standing water everywhere, and there is virus in urine. And so
Mhm.
these animals are urinating all over in these standing pools of water with no irrigation or drainage whatsoever.
Yeah,
And you can
urinating, and you'll see
hear all of the
placenta-ing
birds in the
all over.
Yes,
background,
placenta. There it is, right there. Yeah,
Mhm.
and
an
also
animal with the
hear
placenta falling out of
the
her.
cannon. That is a loud boom trying
And look
to
at this. Look
deter
at this.
the
It's a
birds.
vulture.
Vulture
The
eating
birds
like
seem
placenta.
unimpressed by the cannon, but you could see how avian influenza
Ugh.
could spread from the birds to dairies like this.
The vulture's probably
We're
got
back
the
from dairies to wild birds. I wish I said too, but maybe I don't know.
the
You can't include
vulture.
everything.
The vulture's probably
Business
the only
Insider
animal whose
cannot
stomach acid
confirm
could
that
handle it.
all of these dairy farms have had avian flu outbreaks. But as of April 2nd, 990.
And this shot of this truck delivering cows was
Mhm.
to that facility with that dead cow, and that cow processing the placenta and everything. So
And these
they're
are new
getting in
heifers.
more cows from somewhere else, and I think they were loading up. I don't know. I don't remember exactly,
Well,
but yeah,
Six
th
dairy herds in the
they
U.S.
don't have the
had
giant
contracted bird
udders.
flu.
I'm guessing these are
Over
yeah,
heifer
heifers.
delivery.
75% of them were in California.
Look at that. I hope people are
Oh my
impressed by
god.
that. How big that is.
Just
All those little dots are all cows. Just how many tens of thousands of cows?
we talk all the time about environmental, carbon sinks and stuff. If that were covered in grass and not covered in animals, that would be better for the environment. I mean, it would just be they should be covered in trees or whatever the hell
Mhm.
else, something else that would normally grow there. Instead, look what we've done.
But the
It's
cows
just
are
it
eating
looks like the Matrix.
grass that's
Oh
harvested
yeah,
and
they're
then fed to the
they're grass
cows,
fed.
They cars don't cows
Yeah.
don't create new carbon that didn't previously exist in the first place. Am I right?
Yeah,
Anyway.
right. Yeah, when people say those things, it's just it just belies an entire just an utter ignorance, no pun intended, of the way the ecosystem works. Like that cows aren't adding any more carbon dioxide. Literally, they are. And
Well,
we have
they're
to
adding methane too,
yes.
which is how much ChatGPT, how much is more
It's like 3 or 4 times worse
yeah, but
for
it's
yeah,
shorter-lived.
greenhouse gas.
Yeah, sure. But
Mhm.
also we have to consider the water usage, and
Right.
obviously Tulare Lake was completely drained for agriculture. Now we're doing the same thing to the Colorado River to
To
grow
water these
food
cows
to
and
feed
grow
these
alfalfa for
cows.
them, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
And there's no
Yeah, and it seems
incentive
like
of corporations to like plan. There's a lot of wishful thinking of corporations like this will always be this way. We can always expand markets. But,
right.
corporations think short-term profits, usually not long-term.
And I can't tell what kind of greenery that is back there, but I know that a lot of these the dairies actually own the almond farms as well.
Mhm.
They're the same people who own the almond milk. It's
Yeah,
just
because
yeah,
they
that's
feed the almond
all the
hulls to
husks,
the
right?
dairy
The holes.
cows.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. They feed the holes to the
cornmeal.
dairy cows and they're still be able to
You
make
have
milk and sell it
thousands
to the
of
same
highly
distributor.
stressed animals housed in these facilities in close contact with human beings. This is the perfect environment for viruses to mutate and potentially jump to humans.
They're mutant factories.
It's
They're
hard,
mutant.
even under the best circumstances. A lot of these facilities are implementing all of the biosecurity protocols available to them, and they are still having outbreaks.
Yes, highlight that. This is what I wanna
Mhm.
emphasize. These facilities are doing everything they can, and they're still having outbreaks.
Mhm.
Prove me wrong. What biosecurity improvements do you want? And tell us, what were the lapses? What do you hope to improve? Give us the data on this. I'm sure there are
I mean,
lapses in some places. I'm sure
biosecurity, they're
some.
they're recalling cat food.
What are the lapses there as far as workers tracking things in? Are workers working in multiple places the same day?
Mhm.
Are there holes? I think a lot of these places are doing everything they can and they're still having problems because this is just an inherently risky business model. And it's
Yeah.
like kind of 80-20, like how we could invest so much money in making these facilities just airtight, but how much more is that going to get us? Like just in given human nature and mistakes happen. You have biological beings here. I think the best biosecurity is moving away from this method of protein production. But
Right, the best biosecurity would be
Experts say there's no
be nowhere
reason
near
as
each
of
other like
yet to
this.
believe you can get bird flu from drinking
Stop warehousing
pasteurized milk
animals.
or eating beef.
We have just not seen anyone get sick by that route.
But egg prices are at record highs, cows are getting sick, and humans could be at risk. What can we do? There is one other option: vaccination. But producers are worried this would ruin their ability to trade internationally. Trade partners refuse to buy vaccinated poultry because, in theory, those birds might not exhibit symptoms but could still carry and spread the disease. The Congressional Chicken Caucus says that losing access to the export market could mean an annual economic loss of $10 billion.
I'll take it. I think it's worth it.
$10 billion,
There's
you think it's
more.
worth it?
No, I'm just anything to cost the industry money, I'm down for. But it seems like, well, look, like we've only spent $2 billion on this outbreak. If they're saying it'll cost $10 billion,
In losses.
I think we're not going to end up vaccinating poultry birds.
Although it seems to be an interesting so Donald Trump is saying he's going to throw $1 billion at the bird flu problem. I was reading today, I was looking at articles about bird flu, and there was an article in Great Lakes Now that came out today advocating for immunization. Um, they're all talking about like there's now this is the controversy, right? Where some states are they want to vaccinate and other states don't. So does that become another states' rights issue? What if what if the chicken farms or the egg producers around the Great Lakes area, what if they do it and then other states don't? What does that look like?
these countries ban imports countrywide. So even if just one state does it, then the entire country couldn't export to
Yeah,
those other countries. So
Indiana, Indiana and Ohio, according to this article, which generate 10.6 billion from Indiana and 11.8 billion eggs in Ohio per year. They are both talking about They've seen H5 outbreaks, and they're talking about vaccinating. The federal response, the U.S. Department of Agriculture hasn't signaled a large-scale vaccination of laying hens in forthcoming. However, it announced a investment of $100 million in researching biosecurity, outbreak response, therapeutics, and vaccine candidates.
Hmm.
Like, it just seems like we're asleep at the wheel on this in so many ways. Like, I think what's weird though, Crystal, we're talking about, okay, well, let's have alternatives, but now they're finally starting to talk about alternatives. In everything I watched today, they talked about alternatives.
Like what kind of alternatives are you talking about?
Well, for Easter, they're saying to paint,
Oh, yeah.
to
Alternatives
paint.
to
Yeah, they're trying to say buy some plastic
Mhm.
eggs, stop using eggs. They said paint potatoes. They're easy to paint. Paint potatoes and have some fun. Um, start using. I haven't heard anyone say tofu scramble, but I don't know why we're not just saying tofu scramble everywhere.
Yeah.
Just egg if you want, if you got the money for it. But tofu's cheap. And
So
tofu
the
scrambles are delicious.
$1 billion strategy, $500 million is going to enhancing biosecurity measures. This includes deploying epidemiologists to conduct thorough audits and assessments, particularly focusing on egg layer facilities to provide actionable recommendations for mitigating H5N1. This includes wildlife biosecurity assessments. USDA will extend its wildlife biosecurity assessments to poultry producers nationwide, beginning with egg layer facilities. These assessments focus on safeguarding farms from transmission by wild birds identified as the source of 83% of HPAI cases. The USDA plans to deploy 20 trained epidemiologists to conduct comprehensive biosecurity audits and wildlife assessments. These experts will provide actionable and timely advice to producers on reducing HPI risks to their facilities. Financial support for biosecurity improvements, cost sharing measures. To address identified biosecurity vulnerabilities, the USDA will share up to 75% of the costs for implementing necessary improvements. I don't think my taxpayer dollars should go to Cal-Maine Foods,
No.
who's making record profits, so that they can enhance their biosecurity on their facilities. That's a business risk. Like, why does the government have to subsidize that? I think that's ridiculous.
It's utterly ridiculous. I don't think that we should have any of us should have to pay for these idiots and their risky businesses, their risky business practices. They're the ones that made this problem. And now the chickens have already paid the ultimate price. Why are we all having to pay the price?
And
mean-
financial relief for affected farmers, $400 million. A substantial portion is allocated to
Right.
support farmers impacted by the virus. This involves increasing indemnity payments to those
Repeat offenders.
compelled to cull their flocks due to infections.
And they're repeat offenders. A lot of those people getting money from the government, those indemnity payments, they're multiple indemnity payments. They just do it. They do the same thing again and again. They keep getting paid.
Yeah.
Like,
And
change
yet
your
the
practices.
avian flu
Oh,
has already spread.
also, you said in the beginning, okay, so 30% of people have just stopped eating eggs. 30%. A 30% decrease in egg sales. Well, that could be just because people are price sensitive, but clearly it's not a necessity. Right? People had to choose between toothpaste and eggs. They chose toothpaste.
Yeah. And we found that with all animal-based proteins is that they're
Yes.
elastic with respect to cost. So if we
Right.
did increase the cost of these things, stopped subsidizing them, people would choose alternatives.
To every continent but Australia.
I hope they realize that actually wild bird migration patterns, wild bird flocks, even without vaccination, the chance is still there that you're going to import or there will be spillover in some manner. If the detection is a problem, then you need to have better protocols in place for surveillance of imported poultry in general.
Secretary of Health and Human Services for the Trump administration, who's known for stating misinformation about vaccines, claimed vaccination would turn those birds into mutant factories.
Mutant
He
factories.
suggested letting the virus run its course without intervention.
You know what else causes mutant factories is unregulated spread, because you have ongoing
Look at
mutations,
those birds.
you have ongoing spillovers. People have thought about this.
Our animal-based protein production facilities are gain of function in real
Yes.
life. IRL
Okay.
gain of function research, right, right there.
For
That's right.
vaccinating humans at times too, right? There is of course a risk because viruses will then continue to replicate, continue to mutate. But that has never been an argument to not vaccinate people or anybody. We still have a goal that is a reasonable goal, which is to reduce morbidity, reduce mortality.
RFK Jr.'s comments came as the USDA announced an additional investment of $1 billion to combat bird flu, with $100 million dedicated exclusively to vaccine research. The Biden administration spent just over $2 billion on managing the outbreak with limited success. But these billions aren't just about finding a solution.
These companies that do this and have to exterminate their birds due to avian influenza get millions of dollars in taxpayer subsidized bailouts.
The recent USDA investment allocates 40% of the funds to compensate producers for their losses. Critics think this could disincentivize poultry producers from changing their farming practices.
Yes, exactly.
It's important for people to remember that when you have a lot of money on the line, health often will be second until there's no choice, until a lot of people get very sick quickly and now you really have to do something about it.
This reminds me of
Several
lead.
poultry
You know,
farmers
lead in the
declined to
gas,
speak
lead in
with
the
Business
paint.
Insider for this story, with many citing concerns of retaliation and losing contracts with clients. The Department of Justice recently launched an investigation into price gouging by large egg producers, including withholding supply to keep prices high. All the while, restaurants and consumers are struggling to manage. Tribeca Park Cafe in New York City had to raise the price of the classic bacon, egg, and cheese by 75 cents.
Maybe
The
we should get
owner even put up business
get an alternative to the bacon, egg, and cheese, huh?
I know, yeah. How about yeah, get an
insider
alternative.
articles about the rising price of eggs to try to explain this decision to customers. Still, it didn't go well.
We lost about close to half the trees.
Across the country,
They lost. Did you make out what he said?
Said half.
Half.
He's lost half of his business.
Well, you know, if you don't go woke, you go broke, I guess. I don't know.
Is it woke to
Is it woke to pivot your business when
is it
there's an
woke to, yeah,
increase in yeah, I don't know.
to adapt to the business pressures and the prevailing winds? I'm sorry. Some businesses go out of business. This is the way capitalism works. Am I supposed to feel sorry for every person who doesn't seem to not want to adapt? Oh, I'm just going to stand right here. Well, no one's buying eggs and bacon anymore. I guess I'm just going to go out of business. That's your fault.
I'm just gonna die.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going
restaurants like
to
Waffle
roll
House
over
have
and
done the
die.
same thing. Bakeries like Norma Sweets in New Orleans are also feeling the heat.
Oh, it's hurting, man. Normally we get them for $35, $40 a case. And
$40?
now we're paying like $118,
Damn.
$120. It's horrible. You know, it's
Switch
so-
to egg-free ingredients,
Americans
sir.
are
There you go.
seeking out deals
Dollars.
on cheap eggs whenever they can.
Absolutely love Costco, so waiting in line is no problem.
This line.
Free advertisement for Costco.
For Costco.
Okay.
Also, this is, I think, one of the Costco guys or something. I don't know. I remember they went viral a while, but what is with people and loving Costco? They don't even play any music in there. Like, they're doing everything they can to make the
That's why I
shop-
love Costco. No music. Like,
They're doing everything they can to make the shopping experience less bearable. You can't find anything. There's no signs that tell you where to go. It's a horrible experience. And it's
but
all
cheap
just
and bulk.
it's
and-
is it you pay to get in? How can it be cheap?
yeah,
It's
I don't shop at Costco because I have no idea.
No.
I'm saying.
I thought you were saying I love Costco.
I love
it's
the
so-
idea of no music in the store. Like Christmas time, Christmas music, I just die.
That is, you're right.
Yeah.
That is, it does make me have suicidal thoughts. But Christmas music. But no, I Costco, they've intentionally made it difficult to shop there so that you're stuck looking at you're looking for bargains and you end up buying a trampoline. You know, it's always this. They're very good at the misdirection. It's incredible. But anyway, I just thought it was weird. I love waiting in line at Costco.
Already a line like this.
I love waiting in line
In
there.
2015, it took about 6 months for egg prices to return to pre-outbreak levels. We're in the third year of this recent outbreak in the US. And the only relief the egg
Why
market
did it
has
go
seen is
down
a drop in
temporarily?
wholesale
What was
egg
that all
prices.
about?
I think it's bird flu.
But it's unclear if and
subsided a
when
bit.
consumers will see lower prices at the grocery store. In fact, in March, the USDA predicted prices would rise 57.6% in 2025. And despite the extra government funding to combat bird flu, widespread layoffs of public health workers could make fighting the disease harder. Harry is more optimistic about egg prices.
Let me kind of go through a really brief little cycle with you. The bird
All right,
flu
Harry.
causes
This is so well done.
supply shock, which causes prices to double, then send market signals to existing egg producers to expand their production and to take advantage of the high price. In a funny way, the high prices that we observe right now may cause low prices eventually. Producers right now that have healthy hens, you can bet they're expanding their production.
Still,
They're
infectious
expanding.
disease experts warn that the mutation of the virus makes market recovery more complicated this time around. So is there any way to save money these days?
Stop buying
Trader
eggs.
Joe's, Aldi, and Costco often have the best deals on
Well, they
Nice
got
free
free
advertising for
ads.
them.
I do love Trader Joe's, but
eggs. But that doesn't help if you can't find any in stock. What you can find are substitutes, like bananas and flaxseed
Well,
for baking, chickpea flour for
What?
an omelet.
I don't know.
you don't
Not
like Niners?
those just weren't very compelling substitutes. How about some
No.
free advertisement for Bob's Red Mill?
Bob's Red Mill egg replacer is so good.
Yeah.
I use it. I use it making French toast. I use Bob's Red Mill
Oh.
egg replacer.
Really? For
Man, I
French
do
toast?
barley milk, egg replacer, cinnamon, sugar, French toast. I'm telling you,
Interesting. Oh,
bomb. My French toast is fire. Plus, because I mean, the egg is just there to get it to stick, to get all the milk and everything to stick. But barley milk, whew, I've just discovered and love. Flaxseed's great. Flaxseeds is good. They should have consulted me on this line of the script.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like they should have also given free ad to mung bean.
Yeah, just egg. Like, how about
just
that?
egg.
Old-fashioned liquid egg.
What
Why
is liquid
that?
egg substitute? I think that's still egg.
There's eggs in
right?
it. Yeah, liquid egg substitute still has some egg, but it's like not so much. Like there's way less egg.
And if you're worried about protein, consider other options, like beans, seeds, or nuts.
Like what the hell's this
Or
all about? Wait,
tofu.
tofu. What happened to tofu?
Like
Beans, eggs, nuts. I guess tofu's technically made from soybeans, but I mean they should have definitely put tofu in there because tofu scrambles are fire.
yeah. Soy
And everybody
curls,
knows.
textured vegetable protein.
Soy curls. I get like a 3-month supply for
Yeah.
$45-50, and it's great.
Check Amazon. You can get a huge thing on Amazon for not very much money. I don't know.
Soy
how much it
curls.
is, but yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I buy them from Amazon, but it's
Oh,
like
okay,
50
cool.
bucks, but I get like 3 months worth.
Yeah.
Like, because I eat a lot. I put soy curls in a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
Also, I make my own seitan. It's super easy to make, and it's even easier because you can just buy Vital Wheat gluten instead of buying flour and then doing the whole process of getting down to the Vital Wheat gluten. You could buy Vital
Mhm.
Wheat gluten and make seitan. I made an amazing seitan just a couple days ago. It was so good. I made it yesterday, actually. Yesterday. It takes just a couple hours, but you're pretty much just doing other stuff. I had to pick my battles wisely. Is
Yeah.
Austin a plant-based eater, or is what's
Oh
his...
yeah.
Oh really? Austin's a veg head over there. Nice.
Ready to make the change?
Austin will be at the AVA summit, so
Austin's gonna be at AVA Summit. I get to meet Austin in real life. Everybody, I'll be starstruck. Austin, have we met before? Actually, Austin. I don't know. I don't know who I've met and who I haven't met. I'm
Rewriting your
sorry.
favorite rectagonal to be egg-free might come in handy the next time.
So that right there is called a cambro. What they're doing right there, that little octagonal, that octothorpe,
Octothorpe.
that is a thing called a cambro, and every restaurant uses them. And we mix up hundreds of eggs sometimes. We mix up everything in a cambro.
Okay.
Yeah. This is something that I have
Interesting.
a lot of experience with. There you go. Great. Look forward to meeting you, Scott. 7 years vegan. That's a good long time. I always like meeting a vegan. My VFF, my vegan friend forever. That's cool. How come Austin hasn't been on Sunday school? We should bring you up
We
on the
can
ethical underwear. Underwear.
ethical underwear. Yeah, that's a good. Why didn't we name it that?
Ethical Underground. You should come on Ethical Underground, formerly known as Vegan Sunday School, Austin. We got to get. Do you have his contact information? Let's talk to
Yeah,
Austin. I didn't know he was vegan. Shit, we
yeah.
should be friends. Well, that was good. Good work, everybody. Good work, Austin. Good work, Crystal. That was incredible. I loved it.